Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the lives of history's most fascinating military leaders and warriors. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore the captivating story of Edward IV, the enigmatic King of England who would go on to shape the course of the Wars of the Roses. Born on April 28, 1442, in Rouen, France, Edward IV's early life was marked by privilege, intrigue, and a destiny that would lead him to the throne. As we journey through the formative years of this remarkable individual, we find ourselves in the midst of 15th century Europe, where the 100 Years' War was drawing to a close and the Lancastrian and Yorkist factions were beginning to stir in England. Edward IV's father, Richard, Duke of York, was a powerful nobleman with a strong claim to the English throne, while his mother, Cecily Neville, was a member of the influential Neville family. This union would prove pivotal in shaping Edward's future, as he grew up surrounded by the intrigue and politics of the royal court. Young Edward spent his early years at Ludlow Castle, the Yorkist stronghold in Shropshire, England, where he received a traditional medieval education, studying Latin, French, and the arts of war. His childhood was marked by frequent moves between various castles and estates, including Fotheringhay and Norwich, as his family navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the English nobility. It is likely that these early experiences instilled in Edward a sense of adaptability and resilience, essential qualities for a future king. In 1453, at the age of 11, Edward was appointed as the Earl of March, a title that carried significant weight and responsibility. This appointment marked an important milestone in Edward's life, as it formally recognized his status as a member of the nobility and set him on the path to becoming a major player in English politics. The year 1459 proved to be a pivotal one for Edward as he accompanied his father to the Battle of Northampton, where the Yorkists scored a decisive victory over the Lancastrians. Although Edward did not play a direct role in the battle, this experience would have had a profound impact on his development as a military leader, exposing him to the harsh realities of war and the cutthroat world of medieval politics. As we explore the early life of Edward IV, it becomes clear that he was shaped by a complex web of influences, including his family's ambitions, his own sense of destiny, and the tumultuous world of 15th century England. With his education, title, and early experiences all contributing to his growth as a leader, Edward IV is poised to make his mark on the world. As we pick up Edward's story, we find him at the forefront of the Yorkist cause, determined to claim the throne that he believed was rightfully his. In 1461, at the age of 18, Edward led the Yorkist army to a decisive victory at the Battle of Towton, one of the bloodiest battles of the Wars of the Roses. This triumph marked a turning point in Edward's career, as he was subsequently proclaimed King of England by the Yorkist nobles. Edward's military prowess and strategic thinking were instrumental in his success at Towton. He demonstrated a keen understanding of the battlefield, using the terrain to his advantage and outmaneuvering his Lancastrian opponents. The victory at Towton cemented Edward's reputation as a skilled and fearless leader, earning him the respect and admiration of his contemporaries. As king, Edward IV faced numerous challenges, including the need to consolidate his power, restore order to a war-torn country, and navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the English nobility. He proved to be a shrewd politician, using his charm, intelligence, and strategic thinking to build a strong and stable government. One of Edward's most significant achievements was his ability to rebuild and strengthen the English economy, which had been devastated by years of war and instability. He encouraged trade, commerce, and industry, establishing England as a major player in European markets. The city of London, in particular, flourished under Edward's rule, becoming a hub of financial and commercial activity. Edward's relationships with the nobles and commoners of England were complex and often fraught. While he was able to build alliances with some powerful nobles, such as the Earl of Warwick, he also faced opposition and rebellion from others. The common people, too, had mixed feelings about their new king, some seeing him as a strong and effective leader, while others viewed him as a usurper who had seized power through force and violence. As Edward himself once said, "A king must be wise, just, and fearless, for the welfare of his people depends on it." These words reflect Edward's own motivations and values, which were shaped by his experiences as a young nobleman and his determination to prove himself as a worthy leader. In conclusion, Edward IV's remarkable achievements, from his victory at Towton to his efforts to rebuild and strengthen England, demonstrate his intelligence, courage, and strategic thinking. As Edward IV's reign progressed, he faced numerous challenges, including the need to maintain control over the powerful nobles who had supported him in his bid for power. One of his most significant struggles was with the Earl of Warwick, a former ally who had become increasingly disillusioned with Edward's rule. The Earl's discontent ultimately led to a rebellion against Edward, which was put down, but not before it had exposed the deep-seated divisions within the Yorkist party. Despite these challenges, Edward IV remained committed to his vision for England, and he continued to work tirelessly to promote trade, commerce, and industry. He established a strong and stable government, which allowed him to make significant progress in rebuilding the English economy. The city of London, in particular, flourished under Edward's rule, becoming a hub of financial and commercial activity that rivaled other major European cities. Edward's personal relationships were also a key aspect of his later years. He had married Elizabeth Woodville, a member of a relatively minor noble family, which had caused tension among the more powerful nobles who felt that she was not of suitable rank to be queen. Despite this, Edward and Elizabeth had a close and loving relationship, and they had several children together. However, Edward's health began to decline in his later years, and he became increasingly reliant on his brother Richard, Duke of Gloucester, to manage the affairs of state. This created tension between Richard and Edward's wife, Elizabeth, who feared that Richard was seeking to undermine her family's influence and position at court. Edward IV died on April 9, 1483, at the age of 40, due to a combination of illness and exhaustion. His death led to a succession crisis, as his 12-year-old son, Edward V, was deemed too young to take the throne. This ultimately led to Richard, Duke of Gloucester, seizing power and declaring himself King Richard III, marking the beginning of a new and tumultuous chapter in English history. As we reflect on the life and reign of Edward IV, it becomes clear that he was a complex and multifaceted figure, driven by a desire to prove himself as a worthy leader and to promote the welfare of his people. Despite the challenges he faced, he remained committed to his vision for England, and his legacy continued to shape the course of English history for generations to come. In conclusion, Edward IV's later years were marked by struggles with the nobles, personal relationships, and the events that ultimately led to his downfall. However, his commitment to his vision for England and his tireless efforts to promote trade, commerce, and industry left a lasting legacy that continues to be felt today. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.